Okay. Call the general session of the Ridgefield Planning Commission to order. If we could start by, if everyone could please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if we can move to the roll call.
Commissioner Glavin.
Here.
Commissioner Mullinex.
Here.
Commissioner Amerman.
Here.
Commissioner Flynn.
Present.
Commissioner Butler.
Present.
Chair Tyler.
Here.
And Commissioner Wolf.
I understand Commissioner Wolf gave us notice that he would be out of the country, so if I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Wolf from this meeting.
So moved.
Second the motion to excuse.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Now we'll move on to the oath of office from Commissioner Glavin. Commissioner Glavin, if you want to move to the front.
Do solemnly swear that I am a citizen of the United States and of the state of Washington, that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Washington, and will to the best of my judgment, skill, and ability faithfully and impartially fulfill the duties of the Planning Commission of the City of Ridgefield, Washington, as such duties are prescribed by law. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you and welcome to the Planning Commission. Ms. Lust, any late changes to the agenda?
No late changes, thank you.
Thank you. And this time we'll move on to the first of our public comment periods. Anyone requesting to speak to the commission may request to speak at this time. If you have not provided notice in advance to speak during the public comment period, please use the raise hand feature if you're on Zoom, and the clerk will send you permission to unmute your microphone so you're able to make your comments. For controls over the phone, press *9 for raise hand and press *6 to mute and unmute. Or if anyone's in the audience, may come to the podium to make their comment. Anyone wishing to make a comment either on Zoom, on the phone, or in the audience? Not seeing anybody, we will close the public comment period. Move on to the consent agenda. The only item there is the approval of our minutes from the December 4th, 2024 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? Any changes needed? Hearing no changes, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the December 4th, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. I'll move on to the public hearing business at this time. For the first item for the public hearing and motion on the 2025 to 2045 Comprehensive Plan Vision Statement, I'll turn the time over to Ms. Lust.
Thank you, Chair Tyler, and good evening to our Planning Commission and members of the public. The first item of business tonight is around Envision Ridgefield 2045, which, as you all know, is our 20-year growth management plan update. I am test driving a new PowerPoint template, which is very exciting. We'll see how it goes. So for some background, this presentation tonight is really the result of a lot of the community engagement our team did in 2024 around the comprehensive plan, which a number of you were involved in, either being part of community conversations or simply responding to our questionnaires on your own, providing comments in our meetings to date. So thank you for all you have done so far as planning commissioners. So just a real quick timeline of the engagement that got us to this draft community vision statement. Back in spring 2024, we went out in the community and asked a lot of groups and a lot of individuals kind of two key questions. What makes Ridgefield great today? And what about Ridgefield would you like to see change in the future? 19 community conversations with community groups ranging from the high school ASB to the Lions Club to the Friends of the Ridgefield Wildlife Refuge. That was accompanied by an online survey, which we got a really great response, 330 responses, a lot of really, really thoughtful narrative responses there from members of our community. So in fall of 2024, our team took all of the results from that and sort of parsed them into themes and boiled that down into kind of a draft community vision around 5 themes, which were small town charm, growth and infrastructure, community health and well-being, equity and inclusion, and environmental conservation and natural beauty. And we brought those to a community workshop early in September, which despite being the same night as the presidential debate, by coincidence, got a pretty good turnout. We had 20 folks show up, and it was great. A couple of you were there, as I'm sure you would echo, is a really high level of participation, a really engaged group of community members. And one of the activities we did during that workshop was sit down in small groups and talk about that draft community vision and come up with some ideas of how to enhance it, kind of ground truth it with that group. And that was accompanied by an online survey asking a broader audience the same questions. Hey, this is what kind of a summary of what we've heard so far distilled into a draft community vision statement. What did we get right? What could be changed or improved? And so with all of those responses received, we went ahead and tweaked those community vision statements, and what you have in your packet and what I'll go through before you on the screen is that community vision around those 5 topics. And the goal tonight is just for Planning Commission to have another touch at this and give any additional input, and then you'll have the opportunity to make a motion to council. We do ultimately want to get council's stamp of approval on this community vision statement, so it holds that kind of strength of value as the pillar of our final comp plan document. So the first element of the statement is around small town charm. This should come as no surprise to anyone. A lot of people really, really value the small town charm that Ridgefield has had and continues to embody. A lot of great statements about community bonds, safe neighborhoods, events, downtown, people feeling connected and valued, fostering a culture of volunteerism, celebrating families, inclusive and accessible spaces and programs, really, really celebrating that community feel. Growth and infrastructure, obviously this is all feeding into a growth management plan, and everyone in this community has seen and experienced in different ways the immense growth we've experienced over the past years. A lot of what we hear around growth is kind of, understand that it's happening, but how do we A, maintain what we have, and B, make sure infrastructure keeps up with growth, so this continues to be a full-service community that's safe to get around and has great schools and great services, great parks and trails. So preserving that unique character through continued growth, a big a big part of this exercise in comprehensive planning is it's not in our purview to say, well, no, sorry, we don't want to grow. We start from the point of saying, yes, our community will continue to grow. We've gone through some of our most rapid years of growth, and things will start leveling up, but we will have more people, more businesses over the next 20 years. So folks really want to make sure that we continue to prioritize those things that make Ridgefield special, like a great downtown and walkable neighborhoods as that growth occurs. The third theme of this community vision is community health and well-being. And all of these have a lot of commonality between them, which is kind of part of the point. But some unique aspects of community health and well-being are people really want to see more services that appeal to people of all ages, community centers, playgrounds, parks and trails. I love this quote pulled from the survey. I wish we had more third place type businesses, which for anyone unfamiliar with that term is a place that isn't your home or your work, where you can go spend time, be with your friends and family, feel integrated with your community. And that all ties into the health and well-being of individuals in our community as well as the community itself. Equity and inclusion. A lot of people took this opportunity to say, hey, we want to know more about what's going on at City Hall, what's going on with City Council. We want more access to our city government and the topics being discussed and the decisions being made. So we wanted to honor that through this theme of equity and inclusion. And I think a big part of what we sort of try to improve as staff is transparency and just continuing to show people how we are planning for them and attempting to meet their needs. And then besides the transparency, just having more events and gatherings in Ridgefield that celebrate our diversity and continue to create this welcoming community that we do have and want to continue to have. Last but absolutely not least, environmental conservation and natural beauty. One of the most common things we heard throughout all of our outreach was how special the wildlife refuge is, how special Ridgefield's open spaces are, and being able to continue to protect and enjoy those for years to come. And that spreads beyond just the refuge or just Abrams Park. It's about sustainable building practices, landscaping, educating the community on things like water conservation, to really have this holistic approach to preserving and celebrating the natural beauty around us. All right, so that's really my presentation. Before I turn it back to the Planning Commission for discussion, I'll just check off talking about next steps. So we are here today. I'll be bringing this topic to Council for a hearing and their discussion on their January 23rd meeting, and then back in February to hopefully get their stamp of approval on this or whatever gets added or tweaked to it between now and then. And then fitting this in the context of our overall comp plan update, the biggest thing we're working on concurrently right now is land use alternatives, different land use scenarios to meet all the requirements we have for accommodating growth in jobs, housing, and population. So we're chugging away on that. We're teeing up another feedback opportunity on Ridgefield Roundtable that should be going live by the end of the week, sort of looking at two preferred land use maps that council has narrowed their preference down to, getting more feedback on that iterative process before we ultimately take it back through you all and council to try and get to one preferred alternative. Different topic, but just some context for where we're at in this larger process. And as usual, we have our project page on Ridgefield Roundtable where you can keep up with all these steps in the process and find those engagement opportunities. So thank you. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Chair Tyler.
Thank you, and excellent PowerPoint. Commissioners, any comments on the draft vision statement?
Yes. So just a comment on, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to the event. It looks like there was a lot of good stuff gleaned out of it. Reading through the material that was presented, to us, there was a lot of really good comments there and a lot of good feedback. I noticed that a lot of comments kept bringing out services that are, that we have and that were, addition to, is like the splash pad, for instance. Are they asking for more splash pads? I saw it kept being brought up, or was there comments on like the existing one that, can you?
I think, if I recall correctly, that, it was a hot topic at the time,
Yeah,
for sure. Being presented as an example of both, hey, an amenity that would be great to have, and also an example of where maybe transparency and accessibility could have been improved. So that's my best answer there. And then I think in terms of these like larger themes, I guess I would say that specific project, which we're not really dealing with those specifics here, but speaks to both, the health and well-being of the community, small town accessible amenities, and then transparency in what the community is getting.
Thank you. I was just, I just was curious because we didn't get the little bit more of the context of the things they were asking for per se, just kind of that. But I thought the presentation and the documentation that was provided was very good. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commissioners?
I just want to say thank you to the community that responded, and thank you all for the work that you did to sift through all of those responses and put together a very comprehensive and detailed statement for the community. And especially, like you said, those narrative responses that were very thoughtful. I think that just shows that there are many people in the community that have and see the value of Ridgefield and participating, even if it means through these online responses. So thank you.
I've got two things. The first is very specific, but I'll start by apologizing for not having something more concrete. Everything I see looks and sounds fantastic. One thing that was really brought to mind during the presentation and a little bit of discussion, though, is that an ongoing challenge I've seen since the moment I started to even prepare to move to Ridgefield is one of education, misperception. The most obvious one we can all identify with is the reality of growth and how it's mandated at state level. And while we can guide and shape the nature of that growth, we really don't have the ability to put on the brakes or just say whether or not it'll happen. But that's just one example of many things that are about the way we engage the community, and really transparency is what I'm thinking of. And I'm just wondering if there is a place, and I don't know if the vision statement is the best place for this, but I could just envision trying to add on to the concept of transparency to make a concerted effort to try and bridge that gap, to identify areas where, yes, we're throwing out information, but the way that information is consumed oftentimes can be incorrectly, and sometimes we don't realize that. So trying to understand those areas and trying to make a more a fresh and ongoing effort to try and alleviate those misperceptions or misunderstandings. And again, I'm just kind of a high-level comment. I don't know if the vision statement makes the most sense, and if maybe there's even something in there that I just didn't really see, but I just wanted to bring that comment up. The other that I just wanted to throw out there, since while it's kind of a side thing, it's part of the bigger process that we are discussing. I just wanted to I guess, ask the question of, but also just kind of bring up the point of one of the big challenges with the entire comprehensive plan is dealing with requirements for growth. While it's a challenging process, and there are definitely lots of tools and methods to use to accomplish that task, one of my biggest concerns is in dealing with affordable housing and how the vast majority of tools and methods used to, in the spirit of that requirement, address affordable housing succeed in providing the possibility of it, but almost always fail in succeeding and guaranteeing it through some means. What I'm kind of getting at is something that gives more teeth to something. So we've had discussions about this in the commission multiple times before, and I'm just curious, and you only need to address this if you really have anything new to add or anything that's been discovered. If in the process of dealing with that concept of trying to find a way with incentives or something else to do more than make it possible, if any progress has been made there is all. Thank you so much again for all your work.
We're having a housing and economic development study session with City Council on January 23rd. Our team that's working on this comp plan has been chugging away on those topics, and I think that's going to be kind of our next touch point on that. Do I have a solution for how to make that work? No, but we're going to talk through more on the options. You have the zoning to make it possible, incentives to make it possible. What else to make it likely? Yeah, as you know, all the jurisdictions, whether or not they're working on a comp plan update this year, are really struggling with that. I think a lot of people agree on the problem. It's pretty in your face, right? Housing affordability. As far as how to solve it, we're kind of in the thick of it with maybe a paddle, but probably not two paddles. So yeah, everyone's trying to figure it out, and I think the more we pick away at it, the more folks in local government, in the building community, come up with potential solutions that we can at least talk about. So, yeah.
Ms. Lust, just to follow up on that, I don't know what is fully on the agenda for that January 23rd event, but I think lots of times when we're talking about housing affordability, we're often thinking about new construction and maybe apartments, that kind of a thing. But I'm wondering if part of that discussion on that day or a future day could be focused on the homeless or underhoused population we have here in town. I don't know if the city has statistics on that, but I am pretty sure the school district has a pretty good idea of the number of students that are couch surfing or not living in ideal situations, and of course the Family Resource Center might have some ideas anyway. There's a lot of privacy rules, but I'd love to see the city dig into that, at least to acknowledge it. I think to make sure that's part of the discussion. Circling back to your presentation, I do like the PowerPoint template. I think it's great. The survey, the number of participants in the survey, I think is much better than I thought it would be. I think that's tremendous. I think that's, thank you to the community members and everyone who shared that online to make sure that people participated in that. But I think that's sort of part of the equity and inclusion category there of getting people to sort of opt into participating, but lots of times we have to help them opt in by, blasting it on their Facebook page or whatever. So I think, thanks to the city for really pushing that out there, and thanks to the participants, the survey respondents, that was really good. Infrastructure, I don't have anything to really add there other than that's kind of like, no kidding, that's a thing. But in regards to the community health, the third place, I also pulled that out in my brain, and I feel like we're doing a really good job of working towards third places for children, for young children. Most of the neighborhoods have to have parks, and there's the new park that's going to be on Hillhurst at some point in the next couple of years near the dog park, and the splash pad, if that gets up and running right there. We're doing a lot of good things there. And then for adults, I think a lot of times the third place is like a restaurant, and we're opening more, and that's sort of an ongoing explosion that's coming towards us. But sort of in that young adult category, not bar going, but like high school, middle school age, I'd love to see if there's some steering that could be done to try and create places like that. Not that they can't go to a coffee shop, but that's not necessarily the best third place. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments from commissioners? I think one of the things that when I was reading through this draft vision, which agree, I huge kudos for the work that's been put into this. I think it's an amazing vision statement as is. One thing that really jumped out to me, especially reading through a lot of the background materials, the only thing I think I know one of the big growth issues we have is going to be schools, and I know that's not under the city of Ridgefield's purview. That's a whole separate governmental entity that the city really has zero control over. But one thing that really jumped out to me, like when we're looking down at the community health and well-being or other things it talks about, emphasizing business diversity or encouraging the growth of local eateries. But the only mention I believe is under growth and infrastructure, and it talks about thoughtful consideration of the capacity of our schools. And so one thing that I maybe could see is, I don't know how or if this is the right place in the vision statement, but instead of just considering the capacity of our schools, seeing if there's some way that the city of Ridgefield could be an active partner with the school district and encourage the increasing the capacity of our schools, because we know that we're going to continue to grow, and that I know it's a hot issue now, but I foresee it still being a hot issue several times over the next 20 years. And so that was one thing that jumped out to me, that it's more as much as possible the city being involved in that process as a supporter and a partner. And I also found this growth map to be really interesting. There's a lot of green everywhere and a lot of purple everywhere, so it's really hard to see kind of like, I just found it interesting. I don't know I don't think you really can incorporate this into the actual vision statement. I'm sure it's to be something considered as in a more detailed area. But also, I guess the only thing that specific on that is talking about affordable housing. You don't want I guess it's a hard balance of, it's a lot of where affordable housing, to me at least, seems like is going to be on the east side of the highway, or at least that's where people put the majority of the dots, and don't want to create this situation where it's, it's like, affordable housing is on the east side and everyone else is on the west side. So I don't know if it's how you address that in the vision statement of a more integrated community, but that was just something that jumped out when looking at. There's definitely pink, I think, is the color for affordable housing on the west side as well, but definitely larger areas on the east, it seems like to me. But otherwise, overall, I think it's a great vision statement. It's definitely a lot of work that's been put into it, and it really shows. So. And are we supposed to have a public hearing on this as well? Is what I...
Yes.
Yes, okay. Suppose now would be a good time to turn to that. So now is the time for a public hearing on this specific item. If you have signed up with the clerk prior to the meeting to address the Planning Commission, your name will be called, and the clerk will send you permission to unmute your microphone or come forward to the podium to make your comments. If you have not provided notice in advance to speak during the public hearing, please use the raise hand feature if you wish to make a comment, and the clerk will send you permission to unmute your microphone so you're able to make your comments. For controls over the phone, press *9 for raise hand and press *6 to mute and unmute. Please state your name and limit comments to 3 minutes. There will be no back and forth interaction between the speaker and the Planning Commission. Did anybody sign up prior to private comment? Seeing no. Anyone on Zoom or on the phone or in the audience wishing to make a comment regarding this specific item of business? I'm not seeing anybody, so we'll close the public hearing portion of this item. Back to final comments. Any final comments from the commissioners before we? Do I have a motion on this item?
I motion to move this as is to the Planning Commission? Or Council, sorry.
There a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, motion passes unanimously. Okay, I believe we can move on then to the second item of business regarding the 2025 Planning Commission work plan. And do you need any time on that, Ms. Lust? To address anything, or?
I don't think so. No, I think we can move ahead to,
Okay.
the work plan. Thank you.
Thanks. Any final comments regarding the 2025 Planning Commission work program from the commissioners?
I guess the one thing I would just add is that I'm really happy with the result, and it basically has everything that we asked for to the extent that we really were specific and clear. So thank you very much for the work on this, and looks like a great year. Thank you.
Sure. I will say, for the benefit of our audience who may not have the packet in front of them, just to recap from last meeting, in December, Planning Commission discussed their work plan for 2025 and really emphasized the theme of collaboration and education. So we have a number of items in here around that theme, including aiming for a couple of joint workshops with City Council and Parks Board, identifying quarterly training and education opportunities for our members, some education and outreach to the public about the role of Planning Commission and sort of what your responsibilities are, what we can and can't do in this room, as well as the sort of joint Council, Parks Board, Planning Commission, City Tour, which I have been promised will happen in 2025. So that's great. And then in addition to those collaboration and education topics, we do have a number of projects that staff are working on that we know will need to come through Planning Commission, so included those as well. Obviously, the comp plan, you'll have a lot of topics coming through to you throughout the year, land use, housing, economic development, climate policies moving forward. And of course, the final product too. We are chugging through a couple code updates as well, just have kind of started digging into commercial site and building design code update to try and improve those standards. And we had kind of a first touch on that in late 2024 with Planning Commission as well as with Council. And then there's some code updates we're required to do concurrent with our comp plan update, both the sort of general development code items and then our critical areas ordinance. So just to verbalize what we're all looking at. Thanks. I'll go ahead and turn it back to you guys.
Thank you for the background. Any other comments from the commissioners at this time on the work plan?
Just curious, Chair and Ms. Lust, are you asking for us to do anything, or are we just reviewing this?
Yeah. So ultimately, Council approves both the Planning Commission and Parks Board work plans annually. So it would be appropriate at the end of any discussion you have for a motion to, if you like what you see, recommend approval to Council. And then it's a little funky, but then we will have it on the Council agenda. I believe I have it on the agenda for January 23rd. And would love to have a member of the Planning Commission come and briefly present the work
Ms.
plan.
Less, I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part?
Of course. Of course. So the next step here, following a motion, is to actually bring this to council so they can stamp off on it. And I would love to have a member of our planning commission, perhaps our chair, be present at that meeting to give a short presentation on the contents of the work plan and why these things were recommended, and be there to see council hopefully check off on it.
I will be there.
Perfect.
Ms. Lust, could you help out with the timing? Because in the past, the city council, specifically Mayor Ron Onslow, has asked many, many questions of the chair of the planning commission when they are presenting. So can you confirm his last date as a member of the city council?
Right as my mic goes out, you have great timing. I'll repeat this on the mic, but Mayor Onslow's retiring this Thursday. Mayor Onslow is retiring this Thursday. The 9th is his last meeting with council. And I believe we will be bringing this to them on the 23rd. And also, I will try to get as much information to you, Chair Tyler, if in their briefings with our city manager, council has questions about anything in the work plan, so you can be prepared to answer those.
Excellent. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of deferring to you. No, that sounds great. Thank you. Any other comments or thoughts from the commissioners on the work plan?
Chair, seeing as how this work program was put together by Ms. Lust and those of us sitting up here, I think it's pretty robust and solid and excellent, and great minds were utilized to put it together. And so because of that, I would like to make a motion to recommend to the city council that they approve our work program for 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Flynn. Any second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Wait, I was going to say opposed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. Now we'll move on to the second and final public comment period for the evening. So if anyone requesting to speak to the commission, may request to do so at this time. If you have not provided notice in advance to speak during the public comment period, please use the raise hand feature. The clerk will send you permission to unmute your microphone so you're able to make your comments. For controls over the phone, press *9 for raise hand and press *6 for mute and unmute. It does look like there are some people on Zoom, so go ahead. I believe an individual labeled as Zoom user. Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, we can. Is that necessary?
My first
or-
name is Jessie. My married name is Schultz. I am, again, like I said, 5th generation, followed by Horrell, followed by Kraus. And again, every time I drive through this town, which I live in, and I'm very excited to be in, it nauseates me. If I was to be able to contact my grandfather underground, he would roll over in his grave 4 times to see what has happened in this town. Unfortunately, we can't do that, and unfortunately, you can't mute me. But I, unfortunately, am not living in the city limits. Neither are many of my neighbors that have multiple issues dealing with the fact that annexation is coming to our property within probably the next sneeze. Honestly, it just depends on who owns the property and who gets to annex it in. So I'm just really wondering, where do you feel like Ridgefield is supposed to go? Because this is not the Ridgefield, and I can tell you that from 1909. This is not the Ridgefield that was supposed to happen. And every time, and I'm sorry, because you're not going to interrupt me, because that's what happens. I get 5 generations worth of speak to this, and we do not get a say on the outside, obviously. And the people that would be able to dispute this are in their 90s and don't get a say anyhow because they're too busy being demented, unfortunately. You see this beautiful area. Do you remember, the first thing, you drive into Ridgefield, you see that red barn? You know that red barn?
Well, thank you for your comment.
You muted me. I love that. But here's, just so you know, Ridgefield is very frustrated at the growth. And you can mute me as many times as you want, but we are freaking tired of it. So how do we stop it? You don't let us say anything about it. You don't let us help do anything about it. So how do we stop the growth?
Thank you
Can
very
you tell
much
me
for
that?
your thank you very much for your comment tonight. Just remind future participants to limit your comments to 3 minutes. But we do appreciate your comment and your time tonight. Looks like another Zoom user has also raised their hand. We'll turn the time over to you for your comment. And again, if you can limit your comment to 3 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm curious. I'm also not a fan of the growth, and I know it has something to do with the Washington Growth Management Act. But what's interesting is in the Growth Management Act, it clearly states like preserving natural spaces, which we are losing at an alarming rate. But my question is, I'm wondering if the Planning Commission has looked at all at the health of our water source. I know I can find online health in terms of like calcium and iron and all of that, but I don't see anything where the city or planning committee has looked at like water levels, because our water in Ridgefield is well-based. I did also see that in one of the documents, 22 or 23, that City of Ridgefield will get water from Clark County when needed. I want to know, with all this growth going on and the explosion of Ridgefield, I want to know, what is the health of our well system? What is our capacity? What are we capable of maintaining, especially in a time of climate change when you have communities all over the country dealing with lack of water, just to growth and, hotter days and more water usage. So the other thing too is I didn't see the 24 well report. I think the only thing I could find was 23. So I'm wondering if the Planning Commission has done any research on that. I know somebody who lives in Ridgefield who their well went dry when there was building happening around them. Our well is over 300 feet deep, and I am concerned about water usage and the explosion of Ridgefield and the health of not just my well, but the wells in the whole community. So I'm hoping that you have been researching and scientific research to see what are the wells in Ridgefield and what is their true capacity with all of this growth, the Costco, the casino, et cetera. So that's my concern, and I'm hoping it will be part of the growth management or growth plan, the 2025-2024.
Thank you very much for your comment. Appreciate it. Any other member of the public wishing to make a comment at this time? Seeing no other individuals, we'll close the public comment period. We'll go to staff reports.
Thank you, Planning Commission. Apologize for the off and on click mute earlier. That was just a mistake. Thank you for our members of the public for commenting. I've written down some of the questions you posed, and we'll bring those to our staff, particularly our utilities staff, that can put together some answers. As far as announcements, I don't have anything for the commission today except to wish you all a Happy New Year and to welcome Commissioner Glavin.
Thank you very much. Then we'll move on now to the any items that the commissioners would wish to address. Commissioner Molnax, we'll start at your end if you're okay with that.
Yeah. You mean in regards to just staff reports?
Yeah, just your own comments, but yeah.
Just want to welcome Commissioner Glavin? Just want to make sure I said that right. Welcome, and thank you, Ms. Lust, for all the reports. Like I said, I found this one very interesting to read through, and I was happy to see a lot of positive comments about where the city is going and the growth and like wanting to be involved in everything. I don't have a lot to report. It was the holiday season. So I wish everyone a Happy New Year, and hopefully this year we get a lot done. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Flynn?
Thank you, Chair. First things first, thank you to the city staff for being here and for prepping us, and congratulations and welcome to Commissioner Glavin. So far, we're happy to have you. We'll see how it goes. Thanks to the members of the public for being here. Thanks to the members of the public for joining us via Zoom. I'm glad to hear, Ms. Lust, that you are going to take some of their questions specifically to utilities, because we don't have anything to do with wells as far as I know. And so I think utilities is the right place for that. I am wondering, however, it sounded like, I'm not clear exactly, but folks that don't live in the city limits, they still utilize a lot of city services, especially if they cross into the city on the boundary. You don't need to go into too many details, but folks that live outside the city, a lot of what is happening in their immediate neighborhood, let's say, is controlled by the county. Is that right?
Correct. Outside of the city limits, like individual properties, yes, are under Clark County jurisdiction.
And just real quick on the Growth Management Act, there's a lot of reasons why it exists, and the biggest one, or sort of like the place that I always start when I'm thinking about it, is do you think there's going to be more people or less people that live here in 20 years? Is sort of like a good place to start. And then it's like, how do we plan for all those people, right? I think a lot of people are blaming either the city or, our friends up in Olympia or whomever. But there's going to be more people that live here in 20 years. That's it. So, that's not the end all be all way to address it maybe, but it's not any one person's fault or any organization's fault. We're going to have more people. And where are they going to live and where are they going to drive and where are they going to buy their groceries? And I'm done ranting. So thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioners, for listening to that. And thank you, members of the public. I'm sorry to torture you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Commissioner Flynn. Commissioner Ammerman?
Sure, and again, I'd like to reiterate our welcoming our new commissioner. It's great to flesh out the team again, and hope that you find this rewarding. As far as activities on my part, probably the biggest, besides just hanging out with the holidays and being fairly low-key, my kind of big new thing that I'm quite excited about and like the idea of sharing here just because it's a public venue, I've officially become a mentor on the high school Steel Ridge First Robotics team, and I've already been to the opening event, which was actually down at Skyview High School, or Sky? Yeah, that's right. And definitely I've been fully drawn into this environment. These kids are so excited, so motivating. This is life-changing work that they're participating in, and it's not just a geek fest of people that have technical or math skills or STEM skills. There are people doing marketing, doing business plans, doing documentation. There's a role for everyone, so it's been really excited to see such a comprehensive thing that while it is directly involved with and part of the school in a sense of being an official team, almost like a sports team, it's also kind of its own thing as well, and definitely speaks to the kind of thing that doesn't always have to happen in the context of school. So very, very excited with that so far. The other thing is I actually just wanted to build real quick on Commissioner Flynn's comment, and that is that as I understand it, and take all this with a grain of salt, and I'm not speaking to how effective or ideal the plan is, but the idea of the Growth Management Act, as I understand it, and acts of its kind, is to deal with the aforementioned kind of unavoidable growth, and instead of letting it be a story of chaos where it happens just about anywhere, where you can have a really nice, beautiful set of farms that is kind of far away from everything in an ideal area that's got the most beautiful view, kind of just the kind of thing that an elitist community might want to be built on just out of their own ideals of, this is just going to be this perfect community, but it's, going to take away from the area. The idea is to manage that growth and to centralize it as much as possible in communities like Ridgefield so that those areas around wildlife, around the forest, farms that are farther out, I mean, it's unavoidable that some farms are affected, but I hate to use this word, sacrifice or at least affect farms that are close into a community that's part of this growth process to save those farms that are further out that could easily be a target for a developer that's just trying to make a big buck and do more urban sprawl. So there is a method to the madness. Again, not trying to claim how idealistic or effective it is, but there really is a method to it. And it is also something we don't have a lot of control over other than the details of how the story plays out, which is part of our role here. So always looking to find every way that we can try and share that story and educate on that story, because I think that it's like the first step in engaging with the community and really finding out, once we understand what we can and can't change, how do we affect the quality and the details of that story, which we do very much want to engage with all of the public, new, those that have moved in recently, as well as people that have been here for 5 generations. They all have an important message to add to what we're trying to do, and we need to hear all of those messages. So just wanted to make that comment. That's all I have. Thank you. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Ammerman. Commissioner Glavin, anything you'd like to share tonight?
I guess it's my turn now. Just want to thank everyone for welcoming me here. I appreciate it all. I'm excited to be here. I grew up in Ridgefield, and I'm really happy with the way Ridgefield has grown. Like all the commissioners are saying, it's very unavoidable for all this growth, and I'm been pleased over my lifetime of being in Ridgefield of how the city of Ridgefield has presented that growth. And then just wanted to thank Ms. Less, the work program. I wasn't involved with it at the end of last year, but looking through it here looks great. So looking forward to 2025, and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner Glavin. Commissioner Butler?
I wanted to say Happy New Year. Thank you. Welcome. Also, I know that in the vision statement, one of the statements was thoughtful consideration of our schools. So I just wanted to remind everyone that there is 2 levies, Proposition 12 and 13, February 11th, on the ballot. So please keep that in mind and share. Also wanted to say thank you for the communication for the upcoming Pioneer closure, communication and transparency. And also if maybe we can get some signage as you're leaving Costco. It's technically 2 lanes and the right lane only turns right. But I have been in the roundabout or in the line where the right lane jumps into the roundabout, which is very unsafe. So maybe just some awareness signage. I'm not sure how we can communicate that. But yeah, I thank you again for putting together, like we gave you all of these ideas for the work plan and then you guys made the magic happen. So I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Butler. I also want to give a huge welcome to Commissioner Glavin. Happy to have you on the Planning Commission. Looking forward to working with you going forward. Big thank you to staff as well, as usual. Appreciate all the time and effort that goes into preparing this and coming to spend your evening with us, which is always appreciated. And then finally, a big thank you to the members of the community who are both here and on Zoom, and those who provided their comments. Always welcome those comments and happy to have them. Always appreciate seeing members of the community here. I would say more often than not, it's look up and see nobody, so it's always great to see people actually here participating and being part of the process. I don't really have much else to share, so I think that is it for now. So at this time, we'll adjourn the meeting.